If you are looking for some fun summer sublimation projects, you have come to the right place because over the next 10 days, we are going to sublimate on 10 different items that are perfect for summer and you can do so many different things with. Day number one, we are going to be sublimating on a can cooler so that you can keep those refreshments cold all summer long. So let's just jump right on in and get started. So to start out with our sublimation designs, I always go to Canva to set up my design with the size that I want and all the things. So right here, all I did was set my size for the size of our first sublimation item, which is this can cooler. And the size of it is about a 9.3 times 6. So it's 6 inches high and 9.3 inches around. And that is the size that this design here is going to be. And I want it to fill the whole size of that so that when I download this and then upload it into the spot where I like to print from, I know that that's going to be, I can size it the way I need to in there and it won't have any of like the extra white background or anything. So it's not like I'm just designing this on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. It's the size that I want for this project. Now, all I did here was I uploaded a picture from my camera roll, and then I actually do that from my phone because it's a lot easier to do that from my phone when those pictures are on my phone. I have Canva on my phone as well. And then I came into here on the computer and pulled it in to this page. I added a little text down here. Whoops, that's the whole thing. Of the lake that this is a picture of. This is going to be my summer can holder. And this is just where I like to be. This is my spot. So I am going to now download this. So I'm going to come up here to the right hand side and hit share and then download. And I want it to be a PNG because this takes up the entire part of this. I don't need to have a transparent background because I'll be able to size this the way it is, and then I am going to hit download. Now, after this is done downloading, we are going to pull this up into Silhouette Studio. Here in the Silhouette Studio, this is the basic edition, and I use this because it's free. I do not have a Silhouette machine, so I don't need to use any of the paid, versions of this because I only use this really for printing. And I just find it a lot easier than trying to go through other files and things like that. And you can use Cricut Design Space. If you have a Cricut, you can absolutely use that for printing. The only reason why I like this over the Cricut Design Space is because you can print a whole 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, where if you're familiar with Cricut, you know that you're very limited when you're trying to print something. You have to do the print then cut, and then you have a very restricted area. So making larger prints, like if you're doing t-shirts or something like that, or larger tumblers, and you need a full sheet of paper printed, this works. So this is where I come and do all my printing. Now, I will say that when I updated the version of Silhouette Studio, my Mac was not letting me open it. It kept telling me there were errors and whatever. If you are having that same problem, let me know in the comments because I finally figured out the easy way to override that and still open it up on my computer, which I was very frustrated for a while that I could not get it to work because I really don't like printing through Cricut. So I figured it out, and as you can see, here it is. And now we are going to walk through how I get my images onto Silhouette Studio to print for my sublimation. We are going to come up here to the left-hand side and click this folder. And then we're just going to go through our download folder and find the file that we want. So this is my Elkhart Lake file. We're going to click on this and just drag it down a bit. Now, as you can see on here, it says the dimensions. That is not what I want. So we are going to come back up here. So this is similar to Cricut. If you use Cricut Design Space, we're going to unlock this. And then over here, we are going to highlight this and put in 9x3 for the width. And then over here, we are going to put in a 6. Now, before you hit that lock button, well, let me show you what happens. You hit the lock button, it changes it back. It took me forever to figure out why it kept messing with these settings. So we're going to unlock it again. We're going to change this back to what we need. And then we're coming over here to height to 6. Now you need to hit the enter or return button on your keyboard. And now, as you can see, it changed it, and then you can hit the lock button. For whatever reason, you have to hit that enter key or it won't keep your sizes. I don't know what the deal is with that. I know I'm used to Cricut and you just have to relock it when you're done. But whatever, it's those small little things that can really be frustrating, and I'm here to help you avoid those. So hit the enter key. Now we're going to scroll over here to this green dot, and I am going to spin this so that it actually gets to the length we want. Now you can come up here if you want and hit center to page, and it will center it for you. I am not going to do anything else on here as far as like flipping my image or anything like that. We are going to leave it like that and do everything else in the printer settings. So now we're going to come back over here to the left and hit that printer icon, and it will bring up a preview page. So this just shows you your boundary lines that will not print, so do not worry about that. And this looks good. Those are the dimensions I want. Everything looks ready to go. So I'm going to hit this print button down here in the right bottom corner. Now, a little side note on printing with sublimation. I have a Mac, like I said before, and I have also an Epson 2800 that I put Hippo ink into, and that was just what was recommended when I got started with sublimation, so that is what I did. I don't know if it's a Mac talking to the Epson printer that's the problem, or if the Hippo ICC profiles just don't work. I don't know. I have never been able to actually successfully get my computer to translate the ICC profiles for the Hippo ink to my printer. If you have figured that out, again, let me know in the comments. But I have had to have some major workarounds, and I have done a lot of testing on a lot of different ways of printing to get this to actually print the colors that I want. So, and I'll show you a sample of that later, what I mean. But I'm going to quick just show you what settings I use. So if you are on a Mac and you find it extremely frustrating to print with your sublimation printer, these are some of the things you can try, okay? So once you have your print box up, we're going to come down here, and first we are going to come to the layout, which I don't know why this isn't saving it. So always double check. Like I have my presets, but it doesn't always, I have to figure out why it's not actually saving. You want to flip this horizontally. Okay, so just like if you're doing something on the Cricut that has words on it, like iron on vinyl or things like that, where it has to be mirrored, you want to flip this, because up here we have words. So I want those to actually be read properly. So we're going to flip this image when it prints. Then we're going to come to the paper handling, and that all looks good. Let me just close these out so it's not so big. Then what we're going to do is come down to printer options, and we're going to go to print settings first because again this changed my settings. So with media type you are going to want the premium presentation paper matte, and the quality you always want it at the highest quality that your computer offers for your printer. The reason for this is you do not want it to go fast. You want it to print slow so it does the best job that it can in really filling in the colors the best that it can. Now down here, I'm not going to click this mirror image because we already flipped it horizontally. So we're not going to check that. And we are going to hit OK. Now we're going to come back up here to this color matching. Now, if you have ink, it might not be Hippo. There are other, sublimation inks out there. And they always tell you to go over here and use the color sync. And then it has, oh, that's new. I've never seen this option before. I just did an update. Sorry, little sidetrack there. I don't know what that is. I might have to test that one and see what it looks like. So if you click down, you can see all these different options. And what I have been trying is, I think this was the Hippo profile when it downloaded and I uploaded it into my printer settings and stuff. But this does not really work well. Like the colors are very faded and it doesn't give me all the colors. So then I came down and I tried this one, which was very good. I will say, like, if I didn't want to mess with any other settings, I could just pick this one and I might be perfectly happy with that color print. I'm trying to think if I used any of these other ones. I think those were the only two in here that I used. But I'm going to cancel this because I don't want to use those. I'm going to come back over here and hit the Epson color controls. Then what I'm going to come and do is hit color options. Now you'll see this little box here, and we are going to hit the advanced settings. With the advanced settings, I am going to change this to the Adobe RGB, and then we're going to keep the gamma at 2.2. The brightness, I am going to change to an 8. The contrast, I'm going to change to a -4. And the saturation, I'm going to change to an 8. And this is what I have found really gives me the best coloring. Now there are ways that if you're still getting too much greens or blues or yellow, all those different things, you can adjust things here. And I suggest just getting a big piece of polyester fabric. I went into Joann's and bought a huge piece before they closed. It was super cheap. So I do all my testing on there before I actually put it on the products that I'm trying to create. I don't want to waste a bunch of tumblers. I've already done that, and now I just use this fabric. And sometimes you still have to change it depending on the material, but this is always a good place for me to start. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to hit OK. And like I said, these are usually all in my preset, but for some reason it isn't saving this time. So now we are ready to go ahead and hit print and then move on to our next step. If you have questions on this or you want a more in-depth tutorial on fixing your colors and all those different things, let me know in the comments. I am always willing to help you try to troubleshoot because I know how frustrating it can be, as that is basically all I do. I just try to figure it out. So here we go. Let's go ahead and print this and keep moving. Okay, as you can see, this has printed out and it looks really dull, which compared to these colors, you might think that this printed wrong, but with sublimation, this is supposed to look faded when it prints, and then when you heat it up, it becomes the vibrant colors that you are looking for. So do not worry if your prints come out and you think the colors are totally wrong, because that is what it's actually supposed to look like. So now let's head over and turn on the heat press and finish up this project. Okay, so now we have our print, and as you can see, I cut it down to size. Now on this can, I think I got this one at Joann Fabrics before they closed down. So it says it was $14.99. I'm pretty sure I got it for like half off. And we are just going to follow the instructions on the back here using my HTVRont Tumbler Press, and we are going to see how this turns out. So first we are going to remove the paper here. Now, let me know in the comments, are you sad about the whole Joann Fabrics closing or not? I honestly did not go in there very often because I also have a Michaels and a Hobby Lobby super close to where I live. So Joann's was not really my first choice, but I did go in there a few times before they closed down and grabbed a few things. Yeah, I don't know. What is your local store of choice? If you're not buying things on Amazon, where would you go? Now, everything that you see and that I'm using here today, I will link down in the description box below. So if you are looking for something like this, or you are in the need of a tumbler press, I will hook you up with all of that so you know where to find it. Now it says to remove the ring because you don't want to stick the plastic in a hot press. And this is for the skinny cans. I know I have gotten in the past the can cooler things that you can use regular cans and the skinny ones with, but this one I believe will only fit a skinny one. And I am going to clean this off with my lint roller, if I can find it. I'm pretty sure my kids took off with it. Hang on 1 second. Okay, so my kids must have taken my lint roller and I can't find it anywhere. Plus they steal all my regular tape. So I'm going to just be using some duct tape to just kind of clean this off a little bit. You could use like some rubbing alcohol if you want to wipe it down. Then I find I have like streaks in it, and sometimes it leaves lint from paper towels. I use coffee filters, that helps because those are lint free. But I think this is good. So we will put those aside. Now, when I get my prints ready to use on mugs or tumblers like this, I am first going to flip this over. And I have my heat safe tape here and here. I have this lovely dispenser, which works great, that you can just crank it and it cuts it for you. And then I have my blue Cricut brand tape. And I like this thicker one because I will take one side. I don't know if you can see this. I'll take one end. And I'm going to line this up on I typically do this before I trim it, and I forgot, so I'm going to do this and try to line it up the best that I can. And what this does is when you wrap it around, you're going to put that blue tape one underneath. If there's any overlap, then this won't go through and give you weird lines in your seams. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cup and put it upside down. I'm going to take my picture and put it upside down, and I like to put it on the table, and then I like to make sure that it's all the way down flat. Then I have a nice edge on the top part here, and then you're just going to wrap it as tight as you can. I do not have any fancy clamps or anything, so I just wrap it as tight as possible. And then I will come in and grab a piece of tape, and I'm going to pull it tight, and then I'll do another one on the top here. I will pull it as tight as I can that way, and another one on the bottom, pulling it tight, and then I will come in I'll just put that there. I'm going to come in with some more of this bigger blue tape. And press that down. Feels pretty tight. Now I also like to come in here where that seam is overlapping and just kind of press this down along that seam just to make sure everything is nice and tight. And then we're going to come and start pulling down these edges. So again, I'm going to take my big blue tape, and I'm going to hold it here on the edge and pull it as tight as I can around. And you can see there's some tension here in that paper where it's kind of wrinkling now. And I'm going to push this down. That will just help that paper go down around that bottom, and we'll do the same on the top just to make it extra, extra tight. You can use the skinny tape too if you want. I just like this bigger stuff for this type of thing. Again, I'm going to hold it here and pull it tight as I go around, and then push this all down. And then just make sure it's all nice and tight. I like to just kind of flatten it a little bit. If these little creases bother you, then, feel free to find your own way of doing this. I'm usually not too concerned about the bottom here, especially if it's just something for myself. If I were to maybe be selling these, I would work on having those bottoms a little bit nicer. But now we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing around the top. I'm going to take a big piece here, and I'm going to start not just right on the seam, but down a little ways. I'm going to hold on to that and pull it as tight as I can around the top. And I'll grab another piece, just kind of overlap that one, and finish that off around the top, and then push them down to the inside. This tape doesn't actually feel very sticky, so it's not wanting to stick to the inside of that cup. So I might which I don't know why. Might just kind of go like this. Wrap that around where some of those are coming loose. It's not loose, but it's not as tight as I maybe like it. Because you really want this nice and tight. Otherwise that paper is going to not be up against your cup the way you want it. Now if you want to use like a shrink wrap, you could do that as well to make sure that that is super tight against the cup or the cooler or whatever you're using. I use those when I use my air fryer for sublimation, which I do like using that as well. I can link a video up above and down in the description box if you are interested in learning how to sublimate in an air fryer. If you do not want to get yourself a cup press like this, if you only do it every now and then, sometimes you can find air fryers at thrift stores for super cheap because everybody buys them and then realizes they don't use them as much. But once you use it for sublimation, you cannot cook in it anymore. So I will just caution you on that. I have one in here that stays out here in my craft room that I use. Okay, so now I think we are good here with wrapping this in tape. I feel like it's tight enough, and we are going to move some of these things out of the way here. And now we are going to get the press all set and ready to heat up. So, grabbing our instructions, we removed the ring, and now it says, for heat, it says to heat the press to 356. Okay, so we're gonna turn this on. As you can see, I have it set to 390, but we are going to bring that down. I'm just going to go with the directions that it says here. I'm going to go up to 360, and then the time, it says for 60 seconds, which I can't imagine that is going to be enough. I have this set to like really hot, really long, because I was doing a ceramic mug. I wish this would just go down. Okay, so we're going to put this all the way down to 60 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but we're going to go with it. Oops, I don't want that yet. I need it to heat up. Okay, when this flashes green, we know it's ready to go. So we are just going to let this heat up, and then we will be back to press our summer sublimation project number 1, our can cooler. Okay, so now my can koozie is all wrapped up. I'm going to take some parchment paper, or if you have butcher paper, you can use that too. And I'm just doing this to protect the inside of the press. So if the ink bleeds through the paper, it goes on here and not on the inside of the press. When I put this in, I'm going to make sure that this seam is kind of down or towards the back. And then I'm going to use this paper as kind of my handle to move this back and forth. So we are going to start by sliding this in. To the middle, putting it down, and pressing go, which is the R button on this one. Now, I'm going to let this go all the way down for the 60 seconds, and then I'm going to take it out and rotate it and close it again for about 30 seconds, just to make sure that if there's not a complete seal on here, which it looks like there is, I can't really move this much. I'm just going to make sure that it gets it all the way around, not that it misses any parts, because one of these that I did before, as you can see, it has this white streak here. So I'm just going to rotate it and make sure that that does not happen again. Which is why I have my gloves on. I'm going to use my heat safe gloves when I rotate that because it will come out extremely hot. Now it opened on its own. I'm going to take this out. Just going to quickly rotate this, put it back in, and hit that button one more time. And I'll only let it go probably about half the time. So when it gets to the 30, I'll hit the button and open it up. Okay, it went for 30 seconds that second time, and now it opened up. And I'm just going to slide this out and carefully set this down. It's very hot, and just tip it like that and let it sit and cool. As you can see, it is steaming. When you are working with sublimation, you should be in a well-ventilated room. I do have windows right here behind me, and I'm actually in a separate office in my garage, which is detached from the house. So I just open up the garage doors and whatever. You just don't want all those fumes filling up a small room. That's probably not a wise choice. But we're going to let this cool down until I can touch it without a glove, and then we will open it up. And the reason why you want to wait, other than it's extremely hot to hold, you want to keep that paper on there so that you don't get any of the ghosting effect. And what I mean by that is sometimes you'll get something that looks kind of like it's smeared, or there's like a weird shadowing around it. That's because when you take that off too quickly, the ink isn't settled all the way, and it needs that time to really cool off and adhere to the product you're putting it on, so that you're not shifting any of those inks yet while they're like drying. So we're gonna let that cool down, and then we'll come back and open this up. Okay, as you can see, I can handle this now. It is nice and cooled off. We're gonna move that a little bit to the side. And now the tricky part is peeling all of this tape off. That is sometimes the most work that you have to put into this. So we are just going to try and get all this tape off. Really just finding like where the end pieces are is a trick. Now, like I said before, I worked really hard on trying to figure out the coloring, and I will show you a comparison of one of the settings I used for printing this before to hopefully what turned out to be the colors I actually wanted this time. And you can see the difference it makes with the settings that you use for your printers. Sorry, that was a good gasp. That is the colors I wanted. and I don't have any weird white streaking. There is a seam line here, and because it wasn't, like the design wasn't going to match up, I probably could have tried a little bit harder to not have this line here, but I'm okay with that. And down here on the bottom, as you can see, folding that paper over, I'm figuring out, sometimes it does this and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just trying to figure out, maybe I don't even wrap it around. But overall, this turned out great. Super easy project. You can do this with pictures that you take yourself, or you can look on Creative Fabrica for images or whatever. This is a great simple little project. If you have Tumbler Press, I have done a lot of sublimation and using infusible inks in my air fryer, and I'll link a video to that in case you don't have one of these, but you can find an air fryer at a thrift store for super cheap. That is a great option for all of your sublimation type cups and things like that. Now let's compare colors. Okay, this, ignore that. That was because I didn't rotate it. This was one that I did, and as you can see, it is nothing like this. This ink setting, the printer setting I put for this one, was supposedly the Hippo ink profile, which is the ink I have in my printer. Don't get me wrong, I think it's really cool with the pinks and things in here, but that was not what I was going for. This is our cottage that I like to sit at, and at night when the sky looks like it's on fire, that's what I was going for, not the pinks. So your printer settings and your color options really do make a big difference. And again, if you need help with that, let me know, and I will do a full tutorial just on walking through all the different things. I'm not sure if Windows computers have that problem, if it's just a Mac, that it doesn't talk nicely with the printer, or what the issue is. But for our day number 1 Sublimation Summer projects, I think this turned out pretty great, and I'm excited to hopefully use this. Hopefully my child will not steal it for her bubblers when we are out there, but I think I will probably be making more of these. Now, if you are looking for other sublimation project ideas, watch the video that's coming up next, or go ahead and check out the rest of the 10-day sublimation projects.